And good morning and welcome. I'm David Bowles, and this is Bowles TV. BOLES.TV. The live stream, video on demand, is currently on YouTube at BOLES.LIVE. And there are all kinds of rumors afoot that Twitch is going to change their payout system for streamers. Not streamers like me. I'm an affiliate, I'm not a partner. But they're going to change the ratio of payout from 70% to the streamer to 50% to the streamer, which is oddly strange and seems like it's a death knell for streaming on Twitch. Why would you give up 20% of your income? I guess Twitch is going to try to make it better by saying, hey, instead of streaming exclusively on Twitch, you can multi-stream now, which is how we started. We would stream on Twitch live, and on Facebook live, and on YouTube live, and people could pick where they wanted to watch us. It was wonderful. But the second you become an affiliate, which comes with a few benefits, you can run advertising, you get better banners, you can put up a 60-second promo. Excuse me, then you just have to promise only to stream live on Twitch. So maybe that'll be changing. And then other people saying, oh, no, not for affiliates. They'll keep that the same. It's the partners, the people who are making millions of dollars a year who are going to be able to multi-stream. But I sort of miss multi-streaming because it would stream live and I wouldn't have to upload anything to YouTube the day after. And the live stream on Facebook was live stream captioned. And we have a lot of deaf and hard of hearing friends on Facebook, and they could just watch our show. And then we stopped because we became an affiliate. And they said, what happened? I say, well, you have to come over to Twitch and watch live. And they didn't. They didn't want to. I understand. People are loyal to whatever they use to find you. Be it YouTube or Facebook or the Twitch. Well, today, in case you don't know, is International Dance Day. Dance, fools, dance. And if you dance using your Apple Watch or Apple Fitness or Apple TV, you get this medallion. International Dancing Day. Sort of looks like John Travolta from Saturday Night Live. And I believe you have to dance for 30 minutes, or is it 20 minutes? It's one of the two. I did 30 minutes with Jehan. And I enjoyed it. However, I just really find it offensive that Apple Fitness Plus continues to virtually steal, culturally appropriate American Sign Language for use in these fitness videos. Saying hello, saying Los Angeles, saying see you later. That's not sign language. Now, the deaf, who have been ostracized and left out of everything all of their lives, including the beautiful Jan Marie, say, hey, it's a start. And I say, hey, it could be so much better. Because they always have like a 10, 15-second introduction and a 10 to 15-second goodbye. So they could sign the introduction. They could sign the goodbye. It wouldn't be that hard. They're very smart, very talented people. And they're not. They're just peppering things to just get enough credit without going too far. But Janet saw a sign there from somebody, and I think the sign was this, which she thought was very beautiful, and it means aloha. Gordon's here, and the commissioner asks, the question is, where is their feedback forum? How do you best convey to them what they should be doing instead? Well, I've done podcasts. I wrote several blog articles about it. And they don't care. And some of my most widely and shared articles are about that. The cultural appropriation of ASL by Apple Fitness. And there are some people who say, oh, just be quiet. It's better than nothing, right? That's our phrase. And I said, but it could be so much better with just half an ounce of a little more work. It's not that hard to do. And it would be really kind of neat if they could do it and sign it all the way. And I guess some of the fitness people are trying to do a little bit more, but they just don't do it consistently all the time. So you get little pepperings of it. Gordon says, all of that is beautiful, but I am asking, how do we directly tell them? We can put out magnificent content, but if they don't see it, no pun intended. Now, see, that's the risk you run, Gordon, by just typing this in chat and not being in voice, because I interpret what you're saying. Not fair, but it's performance. I don't know. Maybe I should be innovative and, do something and see. Apple feedback. I don't even know. I think I have sent some feedback about this, and they just never reply. They don't care. Apple is really, in my opinion, terrible when it comes to dealing with people. They have great products, but they don't ever respond personally. Apple feedback, content. It would actually be better to contact the trainers and to say, look, Bettina, you're better than this. Just sign the whole thing. We would love to hear your comments about any of our hardware and software projects. Send us your thoughts. How can I give Apple feedback? Submit feedback via Apple's website. On your device, open Safari or another web browser. Visit Apple feedback site. Choose a product or service. Meh. Apple strives to bring the best personal computing experience to students, educators, creative professionals, and consumers around the world through its innovative hardware, software, and internet offerings. Apple welcomes your feedback on its products. But see, the problem is you give feedback and then you never hear back from it. It just goes into a black hole. Let's see if Apple Fitness even here. Apple TV. Let's see, what was this? iOS and Pad apps. I don't see it there. I didn't see it there. iCloud, I didn't see their services. Apple Fitness. Boom. Apple Fitness name. Meow. Email. Yeah. Subject. Meow, 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 meow. I've actually done this before, and nothing ever happened. They don't care. They think they're doing enough. Which is fine. Oh, there's Gordon. By the way, according to a badge website, it's 20 minutes to the dance badge. That's good. I think I did 30 because sometimes these exercises, and the dance ones I think are 20 and 30 minutes. Sometimes if you do a 20-minute, it's really only 19 minutes in something. And I didn't want to have to do it all over again this morning, so I just went for a 30 to make sure I was completely covered. And if I do 30 minutes of exercise a day, then Apple Fitness says you've done a good job. So by going 30 instead of 20, I got a good job and a badge. Which is just the way you want to start International Dance Day on a Friday. So we are working on our Discord server, and as I've shared before, we have several bots, more bots than people, which I like because they talk to each other and they're creating a community. And one of the things I was warned about as a Twitch streamer is to be very careful of people that you allow to be on your server, especially in your live chat text areas, because you can't really censor them in real time or moderate them in real time. That's the key between moderation and censorship. They mean the same thing, but people think they're different. So there's a special bot that I have that verifies people, and it's very interesting, and it's an alt bot, and its only job is to determine people who have been blocked or banned from other Discord servers and have created a new account and are trying to reestablish themselves on Discord after being blocked or banned or kicked by creating a whole different alternative personality and account. So yesterday I get notification on Discord, hey, you have a new user, go say hi. And so I go say hi, and there's nobody there. And then I go into the moderation area, and I see our alt bot has challenged the person and said to them, your account is 3 days old, so now we have to verify you in other ways using your other social media accounts. And you have 10 minutes to verify, and if you don't, we're going to be kicked off. So I'm sitting here reading all this drama. It's like, wow, so much going on. And I've had this alt bot there for a long time, and other people have registered just fine. So I thought, oh, this is interesting. This is our first, fakery. And that person, 10 minutes later, was kicked. I thought, wow, now that's interesting. And then about 5 minutes after that, I got another notification. Hey, you have a new server, a new person on your server. So I go look, and this person somehow has written this long screed. Obviously a copy and paste job based on the timing of it all. Saying, oh, I want to write for you. I'm one of the world's greatest moderators. I can build your community and submit articles. And I'm thinking, this doesn't sound like a Discord thing. This sounds like a blogging, publishing thing. But reading it, it's talking about, this is who I am, this is what I do on Discord. So I thought, well, okay. So I replied and said, well, that's interesting. Can you tell me a little bit more? And I get an error message saying, no such person exists. I said, it was posted 1 minute ago. So I go in the moderation area, and our alt defender has challenged that person, maybe the same person who came the first time, saying, your account is 6 days old. That raises suspicion because this server is set to trust and distrust at these levels, and you have to verify who you are using different methods before we let you on here. I thought, wow, that's cool. And then a little bit of time elapses, and there's another, boom, a red message saying, you did not verify in 10 minutes, and so you are kicked from the server. And kicking is not banning. Kicking means they've been kicked off the server and they can come back, but they have to rejoin the server and then re-identify who they are and what they're doing here. So, I don't know if those were the same people. They were sort of interesting for what they initially posted, but maybe that's how these alt personalities work. They trick you into thinking they're doing something fun and helpful when really they're just trying to get access to your server as a moderator so they can do terrible things. I guess people delete things when they're allowed onto a server with too many permissions. But so far, the bots are working. I'm glad that they're having those confrontations and not me. Because if that person gave me the right answers, okay. Not a moderator, but okay. Write something. Write an article for the server just to see what would happen. But it didn't work. They were kicked out. Oh, well. And speaking of not kicking, yesterday our old friend, new friend, Commissioner Gordon, sent us a link to an article that he wrote in 2008. Now you think, my gosh, what is wrong with you guys? You have all these old articles that you're sharing. Yeah, we have old articles. We're old. We've been around a long time. We know what's going on. We've been observing things in the world for a long time. And this was an original Go Inside article. So that's even more older. A Brighter Outlook by Commissioner Gordon Davidescu. I won't read the whole thing, but here's the introduction because it's always fun, and then I'll put the link in the chat. And Gordon can comment on his own article if he prefers. At least several times during the night, I woke up with pounding pain in my head. This wasn't the best way to start off the week, but I allowed myself to continue falling back asleep and waking up every now and again. This morning, however, on my way to the office, I decided that today was going to be an awesome day. Why was it going to be an awesome day? Because I decided it was going to be an awesome day. Yay! Now that's how you live a life, right? You don't let other people define you. You don't let a bad night's sleep define you. And I've noticed a lot of people, for some reason, streaming on Twitch. And I know those people, they go 8-9 hours. Some of them who are old like me go like 5 hours. And they're yawning at the end, it's tired, they're in Europe, so it's 1 a.m. It's like, don't complain about being tired. Just either be here and be awake or say goodnight. Putting this in the chat. I put that there in chat. Now I should go try to see if I can put it in our chat in Discord. I'll do the same thing. Because we're all about creating the old content, boys. That's what we're doing here. Oh, I even bolded it somehow. Gordon's article, and there's the link. Oh, fabulous. It worked great. Now I have to remember to do that, but it will be a challenge. And we were talking yesterday about taking care of yourself and being responsible and not blaming other people. And Gordon shared an article that he wrote about that very thing. Gordon says, one thing I loved about writing the Go Inside articles was coming up with paragraph headers. Yeah. And we still sort of do that right before we hit the more button. And I also like the conclusions that we always included. And the subheads, fun. The conclusions were always wonderful. And some people would just skip to the conclusion to get to the point of the article, which is just fine. That's why it's there. That's why it's headed in that way. Ooh. Like, follow this blog, of course. So, we have to be in charge of ourselves. We can't let other people be responsible for our happiness. We cannot blame other people for how we feel. We are responsible for our own thoughts and our own feelings. And a lot of people don't like to hear that, because that means they're responsible. The life they have is in their hands and not in somebody else's hands. Also yesterday, we did a little bit of fun with NFTs. Ethereum was way down yesterday, which is a buying opportunity, if you know what I mean. And it's down again a little bit today. 3,000 is its usual place. Ether, the gas fee when you purchase an NFT, is technically low, $2.77. However, yesterday was really high, like $50 to $60 high. But it didn't stop me, friends. Because while we were on the live stream, I was paging through with you Kelly Moore's OpenSea artwork. And I found a couple of things I thought were just terrific. This is one of them. Ledger Crow. Let me see if I can get it bigger. Hello. And this is like found stuff that Kelly found in Santa Fe, I guess, in the garbage, on the street, I don't know, but he has taken out all of the tremendously identifying information and made a crow out of this. Now, Gabe Weiss does kind of the same thing where he takes sheet music and dictionary definitions and draws over it. Interesting. This is more interesting to me because it's real life, it's history, it's all crumpled up, and then you get a crow on top of it to boot, which I think is really quite lovely and very interesting. And here's another piece that I found. Just loved it. Turquoise Man. Has a weird story behind it. You can click on it and read about it. But I have made that now my main Twitter profile, and I will look at that in just a moment. But I showed this to Jan last night, and she was very interested in the blue Turquoise Man, because blue is my favorite color. Gordon asks, are you familiar with Blackout Poetry? Take a page from a magazine and use a black marker, maybe, to black out words and allow selected words to remain, making a poem. I've never heard of it. It's very interesting. Now, that would be a fun online game if someone would code that. Turquoise Man reminds me of Chagall. Yes, I certainly agree. And if we go to our OpenSea account. Oh, no, we don't want OpenSea, right? We would just add OpenSea. We want our... There we go. So this is also Kelly Moore, right? And this is our new profile pic, Turquoise Man. And you can click on it. There's the information about Turquoise Man by Kelly Moore. View the NFT details, proving ownership and provenance. Just lovely. Get the whole story. And it's a one of one, which is the only way really to seriously collect. Because then you know, if there's one of one and you have the one, there's not another one to burn. As we talked yesterday, as Gordon mentioned, it's just all you and what you're trying to do. Oh, look at this. Gordon says another link. 15 beautiful blackout poems that give a new meaning to reading between the lines. And Gordon put the link in chat. Prose is beautiful and poetry even more so. But when you find poetry amidst prose, it's like finding flowers amidst a river. Okay. The internet started an initiative calling Blackout Poetry, which in essence blacked out whole pages of newspapers and novels and left out words so that when read they created beautiful free verse poetry. We bring you some of the most gorgeous. Whether we admit it or not, we do try to conceal what's stored in our minds. Now that's interesting. I would like it to be more random, because if people are just picking words that they want to use, that seems cheating to me. It's too editorial. We're constantly destroying and rebuilding ourselves from lost to found. Only one thing remains intact. Your way of thinking. Live now, because love is at once a trap and a source of ecstasy. Try to venture beyond the soul. If you take a risk, you've already gone further than most other people. Interesting stuff. Do I believe in war? Not important. Live in the moment. When my world narrows to one street, one house, one room, one door, we pack into the trucks after midnight, and the fear settles in. What if? What if? What if? The trucks drop us off, and we slip into the night. In a flash, the chaos starts. Is this real? The rest of the world falls away. What's on the other side? Interesting. I'm just very curious how this works with copyright. Now, is this fair use? Because fair use is very narrow. Do you have to give credit to the original page? If people are looking at this on a page with advertising and you are getting money for what you have created based on a pre-existing work, do you have to pay the originator, the creator of that work? That's an interesting question, and one that we will ponder into our very first blood pressure break, because a heartbreak is coming with ads from Twitch. I will start it myself. See you in a moment. And now it's saying I can't run my ads. I don't know what that means. Maybe it's too soon. We'll try again later. And we're live. Back from break, I'm David Bowles. This is Bowles TV. BOLES.TV, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. It's Friday. We made it through the week. Very interesting week of conversation about the human condition. And it looks like when I hit the button to go to break, and the ad button said no, I checked and it was already playing ads. So that's when you start to get in trouble. When Twitch decides when your ads are going to run and they just block you and you can't trigger your own ad break. So I've got to be, and I wasn't really that late. I don't know what happened. But I'll keep an eye on it. So here we go. This is the news from Reuters yesterday, so this is not some kind of nutty commentary. Although I don't know what is nutty commentary anymore when it comes to Elon Musk. The mad genius wants to purchase Twitter. Gordon says, I went to Project Gutenberg, took a random public domain book, took a random page, and took random words from that page to leave in. Anybody want to see the results? Absolutely. Put it up! Somehow, if you can. Oh, there we go. Let's see what we have. Ooh, here we go. Went to pieces. Went to pieces, turned loose. They rushed hounds and quickly paid the tax. The rebel general turned wolf-like in the mountains. The hound had zeal to snap. The hound whimpered. A blackout poem I made by randomly choosing words to leave in. Very interesting. Now, I would love to see an AI bot do this, to see if it's even possible to create some kind of story or context based on a randomization of blacking out and leaving in. Well done, Gordon. Very fun. Now, speaking of our bot, Elon is a very interesting person. And now the feeling on the street appears to be that he doesn't really want to buy Twitter. This is all just some kind of big thing where he just wants to get attention and then he's going to back out of it at the last second. I'm not so sure, but I'm not Reuters. Sure. Here we go. This is where it starts. 4 years ago, Elon Musk vowed to set up a peanut brittle company to take on Warren Buffett's iconic U.S. confectioner See's Candies. Then he changed his mind. It wouldn't be surprising if Musk's $44 billion deal to buy social network Twitter went the same way. Now that is a troll. I'm going to go up against Warren Buffett, who doesn't think much of me, and Warren Buffett does not think much of Elon Musk. And I'm going to make a peanut brittle company. It reminds me of when I was younger, and my aunt gave me a Christmas present, and it was a small tin of peanut brittle. And I opened it. It was like a cup with a lid on top of it, and peanut brittle, and you rattled it, and it was peanut brittle. So it didn't sound like there's much in there. And my aunt says, well, why don't you open it? So you can give it a little taste. And it was, I think, Christmas morning, and I was full. I said, well, maybe, after we eat, but I've had a lot of candy. And she has her camera ready like this. She said, why don't you open it anyway? I said, oh, no. Now what? And everyone in the room is looking at me with my peanut brittle. I'm rattling it, and it's rattling in the can. So I think, okay, something's up. I can't get out of this. There's a camera pointed at me. So I opened the bottle of peanut brittle, and out jumped a snake And it was a well-done snake. It was sort of scary. In a spring, it was a spring covered in cloth and painted to look like a snake. And everybody laughed. And I got my picture taken, and I was the Christmas fool of the day. And there was no peanut brittle in there because I looked. Where's the peanut brittle? And then, it's still rattling, so it had a false bottom on it with something in the bottom that sounded like peanut brittle. Wacka, 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 wacka. And then they told me, hey, get the snake, put it back in, go to Uncle Russ, ask him if he wants some peanut brittle, and we'll take a picture of him. And I don't think I ever did. I was hard to get back in the can. I was very young, maybe 6 or 7. Before they got all the back on. Because if you looked at it, it didn't really look like a peanut brittle can. It was very small for peanut brittle. And obviously someone else already ate all of it because there was only one piece left rattling in there. Sure, the Tesla boss was clearly serious about acquiring Twitter as of recently. The financing from Morgan Stanley is shored up. The agreement includes a fee of $1 billion that he or Twitter would have to pay if they renege on the contract. And Twitter's lawyers even wedged in a so-called specific performance clause, which could theoretically force Musk to buy the company if he threatens to back out. Though in practice, this could probably be settled by adding to the break fee. Now, yesterday we had Dick Costolo berating Elon. Dick is the former CEO of Twitter, and saying, why are you, Elon, bad-mouthing the company that you plan to acquire? And they say, look, if for this to work out, he's going to have to, there are 7,000 people, I think they said, to work at Twitter. He's going to have to fire 4,000 of them. That's why he's picking on all the top executives right now and berating them to try to get them to quit so he doesn't have to pay them severance. In reality, Musk's absolutism on free speech won't survive a Twitter deal anyway. European Union Commissioner told the Financial Times this week that the company must police illegal or harmful content or risk being banned. In the United States, where regulators are less aggressive, other technology firms could effectively create the same threat. Apple, for example, gets to decide which apps appear in its influential store. So this is all going to be very interesting. I think he loves the attention. He doesn't know what he's going to do with Twitter. I don't know why he wants Twitter. It's going to be a massive, massive headache for him. Because he thinks he's going to be able to regulate content. Now, our next story is about NFTs. And very interesting. And it made me recall back in the late 1980s in New York City, there was a show on at midnight, 12 a.m., called Midnight Blue. And it was hosted by Al Goldstein, who was the publisher of the filthy Hustler magazine, which was really a newspaper. It wasn't a magazine at all. But Al's very funny. He would do interviews. And the thing about Midnight Blue is, because it was on cable channel, it was on cable access, where at that time you had to provide community access to your station. And so Al went there and said, hey, I have a show I'm going to put on. And it couldn't be censored because it was the government. And so he would put on this porn show for 1 hour from midnight to 1 a.m. And there was outrage, and he loved it, and there was outrage, and he loved it, and he would smoke a cigar. And he says he had a lot of money, but I think he died broke. And the thing about Midnight Blue is that they would put a great, big, bright blue dot on all the private parts. So you're watching scenes from pornography, but with a giant blue dot. And people would watch it, especially, we were in college at that time, graduate school. People would watch it and find it funny and make comments. And then there came a time later where he was able to be on a little bit later, and then he could remove the blue dot at certain times. And that was this big thing that, oh, Midnight Blue is no longer censored. But it was interesting because it was actually more interesting and more erotic by having that big blue dot there. Because you had to kind of fill in the lines of what was going on. Where the penetration was happening. But when you just saw it all there, it was like, ooh, that's gross. So the uncensored version that he was trying to get on the air all the time and that everybody said they wanted turned out not to be the thing everybody wanted. People preferred the blue dot. They preferred that kind of silly, ridiculous censorship because it enhanced the fantasy of the imagination. And one thing I remember on Midnight Blue was Al doing this very strange interview with this world-famous porn star. I had never heard of her. I don't even remember what her name was. But she was being very blunt and said, when you are in our business, there's a certain expectation. At that time, no tattoos on women. They had to have breasts of a certain size. And if you didn't, then you had to have them enhanced. And it didn't have to be a good job because guys don't care about that. Gordon says, when you're ready to transition to the next subject, I have my Vita Vegan White Miso review ready. Fabulous. We will do that in a moment. And he was interviewing this woman, and she had won several awards for her pornography. And then she kind of dropped this interesting, strange bomb where she said that she decided to have surgery down below because she did not like the aesthetic look of her private parts. Not changing sexes, just having certain things shaved off so it would be more aesthetically pleasing to the directors and she would get more work as a porn star. Okay. So Al's going on with his interview, and then she finally says, and by the way, because I have so many fans, what I've done is taken those parts that were shaved off my private area, I have encased them in an acrylic block, and placed them on a wooden pedestal so it looks like a little award. And she has her name, the date, what those things shaved off are. And then she showed it. Took it out of a bag and showed it. Said, one of my fans is going to win this part of me. And Al, who was very gross, was sort of grossed out by that. I said, why would you auction off or raffle off or whatever you're doing your private bits that were cut off? And she said, oh, you have no idea. I found the whole thing sort of disgusting and revolting. So imagine my dismay when I came upon this article yesterday. I'm closing the circle, as they say. I'm bringing it around, as they also say. Body shock. Cronenberg's kidney stones could be the savior of NFTs. Now, the first thing I thought when I saw this is, oh, here we go. Private parts in acrylic. Cronenberg's kidney stones as an NFT. As your new profile picture on Twitter. He's been incubating his latest work for the past 2 years. Now, the Canadian filmmaker is auctioning it off to the crypto community. And what an incredible bargain it is. Nothing on earth is quite as depressing as the moment a celebrity starts getting into NFTs. And this is published in the Guardian newspaper. There you'll be, quite happy, following them on social media, when bang, up pops a sub-Banksy cartoon of a monkey in a wig and a falsely jubilant message celebrating the fact that they've joined some sort of club. NFTs somehow represent all the worst things about celebrity combined. Gordon says forced ad break. And I think I have something funny to say about David C. I don't know why there's an ad break now, because we just had one. NFTs somehow represent all the worst things about celebrity combined. It's both an obnoxious display of status and a very clear indication that these people see their fans as nothing more than a tradable commodity. Now, here we go. Back in the late 80s, Midnight Blue, acrylic, cut off private parts for sale. It was gross when Gwyneth Paltrow did it. It was gross when Brie Larson did it. It's gross when anyone does it, quite frankly. Or at least it was, because now David Cronenberg is getting into NFTs. And he may be the savior of the entire thing. Cronenberg, you see, has decided to sell a unique piece of art as an NFT. Not for him a picture of a monkey or a painting that looks like it was done by an 8-year-old. Oh no! Cronenberg understands that true art involves giving a little piece of yourself to your audience. Private parts in acrylic. And that's why he's selling a photo of his kidney stones, not wrapped in acrylic. Apparently, the stones were passed over the course of 2 years. His doctors reportedly asked him to submit them for chemical analysis, but he decided to keep hold of them on the basis that they're too beautiful to be destroyed. Now, this is just as ridiculous to me as it was back in the 80s with this porn star selling her shaved-off private parts. Some things never change. That's questionable, but judging by the photo of the NFT that was posted on Instagram last month, they are at least too Cronenbergian to be destroyed. Up close, they're a weird mix of biology and geology. Some look like pebbles, some look like coral. One has a fleshy nub protruding from it. One, if you look hard enough, appears to be smiling. If you're a Cronenberg fan, this is as intimate as a memento as you're likely to find. I don't think he won up the porn star. Gordon says, back from break. David Cronenberg made a rather fascinating 20 or so minute black and white video that's on YouTube about himself making quinoa. It's rather Cronenberg-esque. I love it. I'll have to look for it later. I can't play it now because YouTube will ding me. Love the story, though. So let's take a look at the photo, if we can. Oy, oy, oy. Maybe this is just as bad as the porn star's private parts. So this is what Cronenberg is selling as an NFT, his kidney stones. Ugh. Not my thing. Why? I don't think I've ever had a kidney stone. I guess they're based on genetics and where you're from and who you are and what your family is like. I know people who've had kidney stones, and they're very painful. This one woman I know who works in a dentist's office takes heavy medication. She says she has a terrible one every 7 years, like clockwork. She'll get one that knocks her out for about 3 months. And she says sometimes the pain is so terrible she cannot do anything except just be in bed for 3 months until the stone passes. And I guess it's not, they can't break it up, they can't give her medication, there's nothing she can do except suffer through it. I feel I feel for her. I really do. Oh, this got replaced or something. Oh, we have to go back. Open in the same window, which is actually very smart, but not great when you're trying to live stream. Now, what is this about Shatner? The starting bid for Cronenberg's kidney stones is 10 Ethereum, which is about 30 grand. And while that seems like a lot, I urge you to think back to 2006. This is when none other than William Shatner of Star Trek fame passed his own kidney stones, one so big that at the time he declared that you'd want to wear it on your finger. Shatner, being the enterprising fellow, wink wink, that he is, quickly decided to sell the stone. To sell the stone to the highest bidder, which turned out to be an online casino that had previously bought Pope Benedict XVI's old Volkswagen Golf and a cheese sandwich displaying the face of the Virgin Mary. The cost of Shatner's kidney stone? £14,000. Here's where the math comes in. Shatner had only one kidney stone to sell. Cronenberg has 18. So while his overall price is higher than Shatner's, his price per stone is markedly lower. We're talking 1,200 pounds a stone here, which is basically nothing. That's less than a week at Center Parcs during the summer holidays. You can embed one of Cronenberg's kidney stones into a dream catcher and use it to ward off evil spirits at night. Can you do that with a week at Center Parcs? No, you cannot. The whole thing is an unbelievable bargain, and you'd be stupid not to buy them now. And on that just slightly disturbing and disgusting note, it's time for not a kidney stone break, but a blood pressure break. We'll return in a moment. I will see if I can fire the ads. And we're back from break. You're on Bowls.tv, BOLES.TV, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. Eastern. Whew. Well, we talked about selling private parks, encased in acrylic, and kidney stones encased in an NFT. And it's all gross and penetrating in all the wrong ways. So in an attempt to change the topic, we now invite our friend Gordon to give his review of the white miso. And we're hoping it's good news and that nothing is being sold or encased in unfavorable ways. The first thing people should know, Gordon says, is that making Vita ramen is a bit more tricky than cheap ramen. The directions ask you to boil water, put the block in the boiling water, then leave the block in for 3 minutes. You then add the flavor packet, stir it in, and then once you finish, you add the oil packet. The end result is that you get a legit white miso soup with noodles in it. The noodles had a fantastic texture and were good enough that I didn't want to lose a single strand. Good. Now, I always break up my noodle block. I break it up into 4 pieces, because otherwise the noodles are too long and they're very wet and they get all over everything. But that's just me. But I do love the noodles. Gordon continues, the soup was so very good that I saved it and made new noodles, bean noodles, and warmed the soup, and it remained amazing. Literally worth every penny they asked for it. Oh, that's wonderful news. You never know if it will be as good for you as it was good for us. And I'm very delighted that it was a delicious experience, because they are very good. Whew. And that we usually make 2. I have 1 package and January has another package. And then that's our meal for our big meal of the day. We don't share our noodles. And it was formed by these kids who love ramen and said, look, this isn't our culture, what ramen is. We know we can make it better, tastier, make sure the whole thing is vegan if you want to be. And let's see if we can make a business out of this. And by golly, they have. For many years, they've been doing this, and I hope they continue to do well. Because I support them. And I'm very grateful that they exist. And we appreciate Gordon's review, real-life review, live from Florida. Now, this metaverse thing has been my favorite punching bag, more than Elon Musk, because it's just filled with problems. And maybe a month or 2 ago, we discussed this woman who went into the metaverse and was immediately sexually harassed by about 4 or 5 guys who were touching her avatar and commenting on her and saying nasty things to her. And she didn't like it, and she complained to Facebook, and Facebook turned around and blamed her, just like in the real world. Victim blaming. Well, there's security things you could have turned on to prevent that kind of harassment, and you didn't. So therefore, all of these gross problems you had are your fault, because you're a woman. And she was like, what? Who are you? What do you mean? And after that hullabaloo, Facebook finally Meta did the right thing, and now turned on by default a virtual, I think it's 6-foot barrier where people cannot touch you or block you from moving around. And that should have been the default from the beginning. And now you can go in there and turn it off if you want to be touched by strangers or by people that you know in the metaverse. But the default now, finally, is no touching allowed unless I say so. Now, why it took all of that to get Meta to do that is beyond me. And then here we have this from the Irish Times. Inside Facebook's metaverse, where racial, homophobic, and sexual abuse are rampant. This is from 2 days ago. Journalist Yinka Bokini posed as a 22-year-old woman and a 13-year-old child for Channel 4. Racial, homophobic, and sexual abuse is rampant on Facebook's new metaverse, virtual world. Ugh. Have you ever been raped? Tell me where you live, and that just might come true. And get back to the fields, cotton picker. Were among the comments made in the presence of a journalist who went undercover as a child. Gordon says, jokingly, how did you not know that you needed to have honk honk mode off in order to avoid people grabbing your chest? It's a big problem. I guess she just assumed that when she went in that all the safety defaults would be on by default, and they weren't. You have to go in there and specifically turn them on. At least you used to. Now they're turned on by default. And this is just disturbing to read, and it's gross. I mean, we had a little bit of a gross show today. I'm very sorry about that. The only good news we have is Vita Ramen works. Go buy some. Within the first 10 minutes of putting on a VR headset and entering a chat room, I saw, the reporter says, underage kids simulating oral sex on each other. I experienced sexual harassment, racism, and rape jokes. At one point, I heard someone say, I like little girls from the age of 9 to 12. That's just my thing. Ugh. That's gross. It's hard to read. But I remember the early days of this live stream. Before I knew about moderation, someone came into the chat and said really terrible things about being a child predator and looking for kids 6 years old and younger. And I'm like, what is this? This is my first day streaming. Wow, who are you? And then I figured out how to do my first ban. And then lock everything down. It isn't okay to do it in the classroom or workspace, so why is it okay to do it in the metaverse? Now, this is the problem that Elon Musk is going to have on Twitter, because he doesn't want anything censored. Everything's out in the open. So pedophiles, child predators, murderers, rapists, come on over to the new Twitter and say whatever you want, because I'm Elon, and I don't make peanut brittle. Within seconds of entering Rec Room, Bokini was surrounded by strangers who asked her to turn off the safety bubble, the honk honk, that prevented other users from virtually touching her. Wow! I was being harassed by one user, so I decided to block them. Then other users started to surround me and sexually harass me while using racial slurs. I was being pressured to remove my safety bubble. It's really intimidating. She then accessed the VR chat app. I'm racist as probably the F word, said one user. It's shocking the level of racist, sexist, and homophobic slurs flying around. Some are so extreme we can't even broadcast them. The homophobia, the sexism, the racism, very, very casual. It's like a bullying free-for-all. Again, that's Twitter. It's going to become that. It's already starting to make that turn. The behavior was a clear breach of Meta and VR Chat's rules. She reported the abuse to VR Chat, which said that for privacy reasons it could not discuss the results of the investigation. And there, I guess, is your reporter. Your intrepid reporter who is trying to get out of the metaverse. Underage users are not permitted to register an account. If they lie about their age and are detected by our platform, they're immediately banned. Well, we have that same problem here on Twitch. I've had at least 2 or 3 chatters in the early days of this stream who were very interesting, very fun, and then they start talking about school, and it's like, uh-oh. And then they start saying, I'm in 5th grade. Yikes! And you realize, okay, they haven't said their age, but there are Twitch bots that listen to these live streams. And if some kid types in chat, their age, and it is under the age restriction, I believe it's 13 to be on Twitch, that Twitch bot will step in, overrule me and all my bots, and ban that user forever. So the key is for these kids, they say what grade they're in, so you get an idea of how old they are, but they won't actually type in their age because they will be immediately and permabanned. And I guess there was some streamer who tried that out and was telling her chat people, this is what's going on. Twitch is watching, listening to the chat. So if you're underage, you have to leave. And someone who was a regular, valued member of her chat group was joking around with her and said, well, I'll say, my age is under the age limit that a Twitch wants. And she said, don't do that because you'll be permabanned forever. And the guy said, how can they permaban me? I'll just come on, create an alt account. And she said, don't do it. And of course, the guy did it and said, I'm this age. And almost instantaneously, the Twitch bot stepped in, permabanned him forever, and he has never been able to get back on to any stream on Twitch. I don't know how. I guess it's IP bans, cookies, footprints, phone number. He thought he was being funny. And now he's permabanned. So it was sort of heartbreaking for me because when these kids were revealing their age to me, by what grade they're in, even if they're in South America or Brazil or Spain, wherever they were coming from, I know the general age of kids in that grade, and they're not old enough to be here. And we don't really talk about strange topics, and there's no cursing here or anything like that, but it was my obligation, my duty, to ban them, and I did. And when you ban, you have to give a reason. And I say, look, you're not old enough to be here. And it was sad because they were interesting. They were fun. They knew what they were doing. I don't know why they felt it important to tell their age, because nobody would ever know. But I guess that's how they interact. I don't know. I wonder if Twitch would read Roman numerals. I don't know. That's very interesting, Gordon. Because it did have to be, I don't think they were listening to voice. It was typed in chat. And somehow there was something that scared a lot of these mainstream streamers to really tell their people, don't do this, because people are getting instantly, permanently banned. And if you're a kid underage and you lied, and you have to lie to say that you're of age to be on Twitch, and you get permabanned, well, that's a good thing, because you're too young and you lied. But for adults trying to be funny, oh boy, the joke really, really, really is on them. So I don't know if it's big streamers, I don't know if it's everywhere, but I try to be very careful. And as you see, I'm not even saying what they said, quoting them, because I don't want any trouble. I try to run a clean show. Now, every so often you get something popping up in the news. And this was sent to me yesterday from the Royal Society of Chemistry. And because I agreed to sign up for their website, I now get 6 free articles a month instead of just 1 for being a stranger. But this to me was worth it because it was about Pepto-Bismol. And I didn't even know there was a mystery. But there's a mystery about what Pepto-Bismol is. A compound structure unveiled after 120 years. I had no idea. I know people who used to live in New York, who come to New York, who hate New York, who love New York, and all they do is drink bottles of Pepto-Bismol as they're walking around New York City because it upsets their stomachs so much. The structure of Pepto-Bismol has finally been uncovered. I didn't even know it was a mystery. But this is fresh from yesterday. Although the substance has been used to treat gastrointestinal disorders for over 120 years, its chemical structure remained a mystery. We felt it was important to determine the structure of one of the most iconic bismuth compounds. This technique, using X-ray crystallography, requires growth of crystals in which the molecules and the material pack together in an ordered arrangement. But bismuth subsiliate forms are very small, disordered crystals that can't be investigated in this way. Very curious. And it goes on and on and on, and it's just wonderful. And I'm going to put this link in our chat so you can go read the article yourself because it's really terrific. How they discovered this. And maybe we'll have more reports from the Royal Society of Chemistry. Also in other news, British Sign Language Bill to become law after passing final parliamentary stage. Now, what's interesting about this is BSL is very interesting. People tend to think, who don't know, that sign language is universal. Oh, Gordon says, since it's April 29th, would they count today as being my 1 article for April and then in 3 days? Can I get another? I would say yes. But if you decide you want more, all you have to do is give them your email address and you're in. Or maybe I had to fill out a little bit more. I didn't mind because it was very interesting and it looks like a really interesting website. And some people think that sign language is universal. And while gestures can be universal, thumbs up, goodbye, hello, the grammar, syntax, and structure of a language is often different. So there's Australian Sign Language, there's American Sign Language, there is British Sign Language, and so on. And I didn't know that BSL, British Sign Language, was even having issues in Great Britain, but I guess it was not officially recognized. British Sign Language is set to be legally recognized in England, Scotland, and Wales after a bill cleared the parliamentary process on Wednesday. Now that is just bizarre to me. All of this time, legally recognized, what does that mean? Members of the House of Lords unanimously backed the British Sign Language Bill at 3rd reading with no final amendments tabled, meaning the draft legislation will now receive royal assent from the Queen and become a law. As a result of this bill, BSL signers will be able to have such hospital appointments and all communications within the state in an inclusive manner. Gordon says, that's one thing that irked me about the Marvel film The Eternals. They showed these immortal beings many hundreds of years ago in an ancient empire using ASL. America doesn't exist yet. Silly Eternals. Yeah, I've not seen that movie. I've heard a lot of really terrible things about it. And I think Chloe is the one who directed it, and it was a big bomb in the context of the Marvel Universe, where it was just one big politically correct thing that many people found displeasing, which was weird. I didn't realize that, we have the ADA here in America, so if you technically go to a hospital, they have to provide you a sign language interpreter, which doesn't always work that way. The deaf actress, or is she profoundly deaf, I thought was very nice. Well, that's good. It's usually, as we discussed yesterday, hearing people who add profoundly to deaf, because just being deaf is not enough. You have to be more than that. You have to be deeply and profoundly and intrinsically deaf in order to get the special attention of the crowd. So now I guess this BSL thing is sort of like the ADA, where if you go to the hospital or a police officer or you need help, they have to provide an interpreter for you. Lord Bruce urged deaf people to take advantage of the new law. Once created and added, this bill is not the end. It's the beginning of the deaf community's ability to take their rights forward. It's been a long time waiting for that. To use their language and develop it as a means of advancing their whole life quality. I find it all just very strange. They're very happy that they've finally done this. But I'm also sure that they look at us the same way, like when it says having a female leader of the United States of America. They've done it. We're not doing it. The British Sign Language Bill is passed with unanimous consent. It will now receive royal assent and become an act. Cheers were heard from the gallery, which makes you think they're not sign language people because deaf people cheer this way. There's no sound. With the Lord Speaker joking, I will tolerate that disturbance in the force. In a message to members of the British Deaf Association, Chair and BSL Act new founder David Buxton described the bill's passage as a truly historic day and an inspiration for other countries around the world where national sign languages aren't legally recognized. And isn't that interesting? There are places in the world where if you use your hands to communicate, it's not considered an official language, which is very strange and bizarre. And speaking of strange and bizarre, I will be taking my final blood pressure break of the day. We will return in a moment. And we're back from break. I'm David Bowles. This is Bowles.tv. Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. Eastern, we're here, trying to make sense of a very strange and intimate world. Well, I went to the eye doctor on Tuesday, and I never got to finish my story about what happened because it was kind of funny. I have not been to the eye doctor for 2 years. You're supposed to go every year, but we had a pandemic. And they were very nice, worked with me, and sent me more contacts without being there every year. And now I have my whole new year of contacts. That's like $1,000 a person for 2 people for 2 eyes for a year. Woo! And my doctor says I should just get surgery on my eye like she has on her eye. And then I said, well, what's the point of that? Because I'd still need reading glasses, right? She said, yes, but your prescription will be much thinner than it is now, because right now it's kind of thick. Okay. Currently, to get your eyes done, surgically fixed, is $2,500 an eye in Jersey City. Now, I know places in New York that do it for half that, but I guess you get what you pay for. So we hadn't seen her for 2 years, and she always is full of information and funny stories. And she was asking us if we were safe. And yeah, we said, yeah, we were okay, the pandemic. And she said, well, she owns her 20 boxes of Vita Ramen, $1,000 a year. Yeah, just for contacts. That doesn't include the re-wetting drops that you have to have. And by the way, these are the re-wetting drops that I like Blink for contacts. Our eye doctor said this is what you want. Refresh relief. Refresh relief. That is her preferred eye wetting drop. And she said you can put this in your eye wearing your contacts, because not every eye drop is made for people who have contacts in their eyes. So she owns her ophthalmology place, and she has 4 or 5 doctors who work there, and they travel, and her husband owns it with her as well. He's also an ophthalmologist. But their main office is not in Jersey City. I believe it's, I don't know, Livingston, somewhere else. So she's there half a day once a week, and so is he. And she said, well, the lockdown came on a Monday. And she said Friday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, both she and her husband had tested positive for COVID. And she's very careful. I said, what? She said, yeah, I had it pretty bad. But she said, my husband, that Friday, was in the ICU. I said, what? She said, yeah, the first week of the lockdown, he was in the ICU on a ventilator, and they didn't think he was going to live. What? And she said, yeah. And then he fought, and he got better, and now he's doing okay. I couldn't believe it. I could not believe it. And then I started thinking about it. I mean, I want to say, other than a dentist, is there another everyday office job in a doctor's office where you are this close to another person's face? I mean, even as a dentist, you have your hands in their mouth, but your face is maybe 2 or 3 feet away. If you're doing intubations at a hospital, that's different. But everyday doctoring, heart doctor, skin doctor, there's some distance. But when you're an eye doctor, the patient's here, right? And then the thing is here, and then your face is right next to their face, and they have the little magnifying glass checking for glaucoma and all these things. And they're breathing on each other, and Jan would always say you could smell cigarettes on her. Who thought that an ophthalmologist would be at a high risk for getting COVID? But if you think about proximity and breathing each other's air, I can't think of another profession where you're that close. And you're not just seeing one person, you're seeing, 25 people a day. And our office is kind of on a first floor. in an addition, and it's all dark, no windows, which is great because when you close the door and turn off the lights to do your eye exam, it is black. You cannot see in front of your hand. And that's what you want, but there's not a lot of ventilation. So I couldn't believe it, but she seemed fine. She was back to her original fun self. And then it was time. We have monovision, so one eye is for reading, the other eye is for distance. So doing the traditional put the thing over your eye, we don't do that. Because why? You do distance without covering an eye, and then you do reading up close without covering an eye. And we tried to tell this new person who was working in there that we don't do the test, and she didn't understand what it meant. I said, tell the doctor monovision, remind her. She came back, she didn't understand, so we had to do the test. Then I had my contacts back on because we were leaving, and the doctor said, well, we haven't seen you for 2 years. Let's do that, take a picture of the back of your eye thing. I mean, okay, that takes like 2 seconds. And you look into a thing, and you look over here, and you look at the green dot, and then it takes a picture of your eye. And they had a new machine. I said, oh, this is nice. This actually had a Canon camera, 35 millimeter camera, on the back of it. And it was brand new. I said, ooh, that's neat. So they had this new person doing my photographing of my eye. And she couldn't get it right. So I'm looking, I have my mask on, looking, and she does it 5 times. It's a bright, bright, bright camera flash in your eye 5 times. And I said, I'm supposed to be looking at the green dot, right? No, look straight ahead. And I'm thinking, I have done this test for 20 years. I know what I'm doing. I don't think you know what you're doing. And then she did the other eye once, and then she looked, she said, this isn't working, it's all blurry. She called in 4 other people to come in there and figure out what was wrong. And they said, look, this is blurry, it's dusty, this isn't right. And one of the other people said, yeah, I had that problem yesterday with another patient. And I'm thinking, they said, come over, we'll do it again. I said, no. And I'm usually I'll go along with anything. But my eye was hurting because it was dilated. I got flashed 5 times in one eye. And I said, I'm going to sit over here and just take a little bit of a break because it doesn't seem like you really know what the solution is yet. So they all left angry that I was not playing along with them doing my eye. And then the doctor came in and she said, what happened? I said, I don't really know what happened. And she said, okay. Well, I don't need to see it anyway. I said, because she did the deep exam in my eye, and she said, it's fine. I said, okay. So I'm out there paying my $1,000 for our contacts. And the doctor comes halfway down the hallway to me and says, hey, do you have a minute? And Jenna had to leave. She had to teach an NYU class. So she'd been gone for half an hour already. So I'm there by myself. I said, I'll be here all afternoon if you need me. So she took me up on my offer. I said, okay. She said, come back here. I said, okay. I just went back there. And she was showing me that she had taken a picture of her eye with this machine with this new technician that was in the basement going to the bathroom when I was having mine done. And she said, see? I said, oh, that is a beautiful, clear picture. She said, yeah, but there's still stuff on it. I don't know. And the technician said, well, there's dust on the lens. And the doctor's like, what do you mean there's dust on the lens? You know better than to have dust on the lens. So they cleaned it with a chamois, and then the doctor said, do you want to try it? I said, sure. So I said, okay. So I sat down, flash in my eye, ay. They looked, and the doctor's whole personality changed. What's that? Scaring me, pointing to my eyeball picture. And the technician said, it's nothing. It's a little bit more dust on the lens. And the doctor said, it can't be because this is his eyes have changed. This is not right. And the technician stood up and said, hey, let's do the other eye and I'll show you. And the doctor said, do you mind doing your other eye? And I said, okay. So they flashed from this eye. And I said, I'm looking at the green dot, right? And she said, yes, of course. You know that. I said, I know that. Before she had me looking straight ahead. And the doctor said, no, always look at the green dot. So then they showed me the second picture, showed the doctor the second picture of my eye, and the technician said, look here with a pen. Bop, 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 bop. They're all, both pictures, bop, 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 bop. Same. It's dust on the lens. And the doctor said, why is there dust still on the lens? You know better than that. And I said, okay, so there's dust on the lens. I'm wearing my contacts. Is everything okay? Should I take out my contacts? Do you want to do it again? Are my eyes okay? She says, yeah, your eyes are okay, but come see the retina specialist just because the shape of your eye, it'll be fine. But it's done. Go. I said, okay. So I got up, went back to Linda, who I love, at the front desk, continuing to process paying for my contact lenses. 1 minute later, the doctor comes into the hallway. And there are 25 other people in the waiting room. And she's the only doctor there. She said, hey, do you think you'd come back one more time? I said, of course. So we went back. She said, we have thoroughly cleaned the camera lens. There is no dust anywhere. I have verified it myself. Would you like to do it one more time? I said, okay. I said, but I have my contacts on. I can take them off. Because the stuff is right there. We did it before for the eyes. I'll take them off. It's not that doesn't matter. Just sit down. So I sat down, flashing this eye. So we're now at what, 7, 8? And she looked and she said, oh, it's beautiful. No dust. And then she said, this is your artery. There's no blood in it. And this is your vein. And when they cross, there can be trouble, but there's no crossing. There's no trouble. But because we're old, she's a little older than I am. Because we're old, our veins are this way. She said, in young people's eyes, the veins are straight across coming out. So that means your eye shape is changing. We have to make sure you're not going to get a retinal tear later. So we have to watch this. I said, okay, great. Then I said, you want to do this eye too? And she said, no, I don't need to. I said, are you sure? Because I'm here and we did the other eye the last time and it had dust on the lens. And she said, okay. So we did this side, boom. And again, clear, beautiful. She looked at it, everything's fine, explained what all those different things meant. I said, great. And she said, you have more time in the afternoon. I said, yes, I do, I have more time. If you want to do more things, I'll do it. She said, well, we could have dinner. And I said, okay. And then she said, okay, now leave. Okay, bye. So I went out, finished my thing with Linda. Done, looked for the doctor again. I said, and she was in the hallway watching me. I said, should I leave or do you want me to stay? She said, no, we're good. Just make an appointment with the retina specialist. I said, okay, and I left. And then she came back outside and told me this story. She said, I know you live in that big white building in Joel Square. And I drove by it the other day with a friend of mine. And I say, I have a patient who lives there. And I know what strength his contacts are. And she told him this, that. And I said, yeah. She said, I hear that the second building went up. I said, yeah, the second building's already open. It took them 2 years to build it, and 725 apartments they sold in 3 weeks. Sold out. Not sold, but rented out. And she said, well, she said, it looks like the Twin Towers. I said, yeah, it does, doesn't it? Yeah, she said, my friend was scared to drive by because she thought it was the Twin Towers. I said, well, the third one they're building right now, the foundation has said it's going up, it'll be there in a year. And then I told her, it's going to really look funny. And she said, what do you mean? And then I showed her with my fingers what it's going to look like. And here's an article about the third building that's going up. And if you look at it, semiotically, against the sky, 3 skies, as they say, what does that look like? I'll tell you what it looks like. It looks like somebody's flipping you off. And so I showed my doctor. I said, well, it's this finger and this finger and this finger that's going like this to Jersey City. I said, why would they design something like that? 3 buildings, various heights, with a tall middle finger and the 2 other fingers on each side. It's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard of. And they're all right next to each other, and it's very popular because the PATH station, where the train is into New York, 11 minutes away, is right here. So you really walk 10 feet, and you're in the PATH station, on a train. You don't have to cross the street. That's why people live there. And what these building owners don't understand is you live there because you don't have a car and you rely on public transportation. So that means you do all of your life, work, play, online, and you have things delivered. So these buildings get 500 boxes of deliveries a day for all of these people living in these units. And they don't have enough staff to cover the boxes. So boxes are delayed, people are upset. And I said, they have to realize people live here at Journal Squared. It's the name of the project. For the convenience of the path, which means they don't have a car, they don't need parking, they don't want parking. And you need to make it more robust. But what do I know? So this is where we live. We live in this one. This is the OG, as I call it. The original gangster building. 56 floors, I believe. Tallest building in Jersey City. Until this was built. This is the new building, which I believe is 76 stories high. Very, very nice. And what's really great is both of these buildings share the 8th floor. So you can go outside, and there are 2 swimming pools. There's an Olympic-sized pool for the big building and a smaller swimming pool for our building, which I prefer. And they have exercise stuff that's brand new and gorgeous, and both sides could go use the equipment. Then there's this third building, which is in the middle. I think it's like 62 or 3 stories high. It's the third building in the complex. And as you can see, in the middle, there is nothing joining this building to the other 2, which I find oddly curious. If you're going to have 3 buildings, all built together, why would you have one that's not connected? I think they're going to have to connect the 8th floor so everybody can enjoy everything, because otherwise this building becomes a silo. It's not connected to the other 2. These 2 are not connected to this one. Maybe they want that for some reason. I don't know why. But I can't look at that and not be slightly insulted that I'm being flipped off every day by Journal Squared, which is sort of really, really funny. But I guess that's just me. And this is the story about the building of the buildings. There we are. This is what it currently looks like, with the big building and the small building. And it's so funny. Yeah, we live in the small building because that was the big building for probably 5 years while it was being built. I called it the Great White Monolith. Based on the movie, right? Space Odyssey. And people didn't even have to know what the big white monolith is because they knew exactly what I meant when I said white. This is another angle on the buildings. The third one is being built right now, going up right here. And our building looks especially tiny. It's interesting. And this is the foundation for the third building. Going up, and up, and up, and up. This is a different building over here that's being built right now, right across the street from us. But you have to cross the street to get to the path. This is what the buildings look like from the outside. More construction. This is looking down from Tower 2, as they say, on the new construction. This is a dog park that's on the 5th floor parking garage level of the second building. This is the 8th floor deck right here. This is the street, and this is the footprint of building 3. So these are very tall buildings, but the footprint is very small. It just goes straight up. But it's not rickety like the tall buildings they're building in New York City that are going to fall over in the breeze. Another shot of the current complex. And we're finally having a health food grocery store move in because there's really no grocery store that is nearby. There's Seatown, but it's a little ratty in a bad part of town, even though it's only like 4 blocks away. This one's going to be in the first floor level of Tower 2, so that's going to be fantastically convenient. And this is what my doctor was talking about. She said you drive by from afar and it looks like Twin Towers. And it kind of does. I guess that scares some people. More shots. I don't know what this is. I guess this is building 2 hiding building 1. There they are, the Twin Towers, the new Twin Towers. This is also a new thing in Jersey City where they paint murals on the sides of buildings. I think it's a little obnoxious and a little overdone. It loses its specialness. This is the view of New York City from the Jersey City side. Twin Towers, the new Twin Towers again. This is what they'll look like all together. Flipping off New York. And the comments are really terrific. There's one that I thought was really funny. Something about the water. But anyway, that's my story of being at the eye doctor. And the never-ending push to try to get dust off the camera lens. And I have a feeling that poor woman who helped us at the very beginning was going to get in big trouble. Gordon says murals that the artist can turn into NFTs. Isn't that the truth? I like that, actually. That makes sense. But that's the new thing, is to take a whole side of a building and paint it and then put on a big mural. There's a big mural of David Bowie on a Jersey City building, which is actually fantastic. But I don't want to see a lily on the side of a building that's, 100 feet tall. I would rather see David Bowie. And you can see this from the main highway going into the city. And you can see it for miles. It's very beautifully done. Now, this to me is artistic and aesthetic. Drawing a lily on a side of a building is not interesting. Putting a moonwalker on the side of a building is not interesting. Putting a surfboarder is not interesting. David Bowie is pretty interesting. And it doesn't quite look this beautiful and bright anymore because it's sort of been bleached by the sun. I guess we keep looking at the same picture. Maybe this is the artist who did it. After Rodney Dangerfield passed, they put up a Rodney Dangerfield mural in Kew Gardens, where he grew up, and where Chaim and Malka grew up until last year. Oh, that's nice. I love that. And Pop Icon, David Bowie, larger than life in Jersey City mural, 2016. There it's going up in 2016. Very nice. There's the artist, a little Bob Dylan going on there. Let's see if we can get these pictures to fire. Okay, these are the pictures. Good. One. A little blurry. 2016, didn't have good cameras. So this is the part of the process of how the artwork came to be. And it really is very genius. It's well done. Rodney Dangerfield in Kew Gardens. And the color is not as vibrant. Oh, there's Rodney. This Rodney Dangerfield mural in Kew Garden, Queens, where he grew up. I don't get no respect. Funny. Now that's a piece of artwork I can get behind. As meaning, the picture's a little wonky, but I love the idea. So public art is great. I just think it needs to sort of have some kind of aesthetic coherence behind it all, so people just aren't up there painting whatever they want to paint. And then it doesn't have any meaning because it just all becomes a big blob of, another one of those. It loses some of its specialty. Well, it's been quite a week. Wonderful week. Had some wonderful conversations. Got a lot done. And now we start preparing for Monday, because Monday through Friday we are here with you, 9 a.m. Eastern. If you have any thoughts or comments on this stream or anything else, you can email me, David, at boles.tv, BOLES.tv. You can find me on Twitter at David Boles with a super follow. On Facebook, I'm just regular old BOLES, facebook.com/Boles. On YouTube, you can find our video on demand by going to boles.live, boles.live. Instagram, we are Boles Books. TikTok, Boles TV. And if you have some interest in our Discord server, which I am working on putting up articles and links and building a community in case and if or not the Elon Musk takes over Twitter and ruins it, we at least have an escape hatch. And you can join our Discord server. Now, why that says Streamlabs instead of Bowlspot, I don't know. It's not supposed to say that. So, now I have a new project to try to figure out. But our lights are working, the computer's working. All in all, it's been a wonderful week. And I thank you so much for being here. I hope you have a great nap, a wonderful day, a good evening. And when ye shall awaken, I hope your soul is filled with joy, anticipation, and maybe even a little bit of dancing. I'll see you on Monday. Thank you, Gord, for being here. Stay in touch, buddy.